Very good morning to all of you and a very happy new year. I am Dr. Mandar Borde. I am an assistant professor and spine surgeon at Bharati Vidyapeeth Medical College and University Hospital. So the topic for today is low back pain, its myths and reality. The world is divided into three groups of people: those who are having back pain, those who have had back pain in the past, and those who will have back pain in the future. 80% of the people go through back pain at some point in their life. So what is the beauty of the back? It's neuroprotection, stability, mobility, and the one that is visible to everyone is the aesthetics, the looks. So the human spine is a unique, highly advanced functional unit which is designed not only to take loads but also to permit movements in all directions. Most of us abuse our backs in whatever way we can, but without servicing it. It's like a car. We use it on the pathetic roads of Pune, but we tend to keep the car with us instead of taking it to the servicing regularly. So alignment and axis of the spine. The spine has, to start with, in a fetus, the curvature of the spine is uniform all throughout. But as the child starts crawling and then getting upright, the secondary curves of the spine come up. So to start with, the human spine is divided into three different kinds of curves. First is the cervical spine, which consists of 7 cervical vertebrae. Then comes the thoracic spine, consisting of 12 vertebrae. And then the lumbar spine, consisting of 5 vertebrae. The sacrum and the coccyx, they form one center. So the structure of the human spine consists of bones, muscles, ligaments, and of course the neural elements. So the bony structure is formed by the vertebral bodies and the structures of the entire vertebral body, like the spinous process, the spinal canal, the transverse processes, the facets. And the spine is supported by dynamic supporters like the paraspinal, the abdominal, the gluteal, and the hamstring muscles. The basic mobile unit of a spine is the facet joint and the disc. So 2 vertebrae with their facet joints and the intervening intervertebral disc is what a single mobile unit of the spine forms. And of course, the spinal cord and the nerve roots, which form the neural element of the spine. This is how the spine looks in a radiograph, that is the X-ray, and an MRI. So you can see the intervertebral discs in between the 2 vertebral bodies, then the spinal cord behind it, and the spinous processes and the muscles attached to it, along with the ligaments posterior to the spinal cord. What is the relevance of a correct evaluation and management of back pain? So you can see here the person in the photograph is quite confused because there are too many options and too many controversies associated with this. Surgery, acupuncture, back school, collar, belt, manipulation, rest, yoga, traction, etc., etc. So I start with the causes and the classification of back pain. First and foremost, one must understand that it is a symptom and not a disease. What are the different types of back pain? Osteogenic, which includes the pain that arises from the bones. Discogenic, that arises from the intervertebral discs. And spondylogenic, which arises from the facet joints. So what does osteogenic back pain come from? It's spondylolysis or spondylolisthesis, wherein one vertebra is slipped over the other. Osteoporosis and osteomalacia, the most common cause of back pain in India. Spinal infections, spinal neoplasms or tumors. The osteogenic type of back pain is quite surgeon friendly. Me being a spine surgeon, I would like patients coming with these because I know that there's a treatment for this. Osteoporosis, as I said, osteoporosis is the most common cause of back pain in India currently. The osteoporotic vertebral fractures seen in elderly females, most probably post-menopausal females. What exactly is osteoporosis? It's a systemic skeletal disease characterized by low bone mass and microarchitectural deterioration of bone tissue, with a consequent increase in bone fragility and susceptibility to fractures. Bone mass value, which is more than 2.5 standard deviation below the young adult mean value, is what WHO classifies or defines osteoporosis as. Spinal tuberculosis. India is the hub of tuberculosis in the world. So what are the controversies that are associated with tuberculosis these days? First and foremost, whether operative or non-operative treatment. Then comes the duration of anti-tuberculosis treatment. WHO says that for spine infection or spine tuberculosis, 6 to 9 months of anti-tuberculosis treatment is fair enough. But we see patients coming to us with patient being on anti-tuberculosis drugs for 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years. There's no parameters or no guidelines for the use of AKT in India. Whether pre-treatment histopathological confirmation, yes. These days, with the advent of MDR and XDR and TDR tuberculosis, first and foremost is to know whether it actually is tuberculosis or not. Then there's the need or methods to prove whether it is a multi-drug resistant or an extended drug resistant or a total drug resistant tuberculosis. So spinal tuberculosis is a medical disease. Yes, there are certain indications wherein surgery is required, but more often than not, surgery is rarely required in tuberculosis, and it is the medications that heal the disease and not the surgery itself. Discogenic types of back pain. It is disc degeneration. Everyone ages. Everyone has to go through white hair in their life. So is disc degeneration. Disc resorption, Schmoll's nodes, and prolapsed intervertebral disc, or the slip disc that we commonly know. What exactly is a degenerated disc? The disc loses its capacity to absorb shocks. Disc desiccation, that is loss of water content. It is usually seen in young or often athletic adults with multiple episodes of locked back. One fine day, a young fit male stands up and says, "Oh, my back is locked. I'm not able to move freely." So what is the treatment for it? Rest and analgesics during the painful episode. Back exercises when the back is pain-free. It rarely, very rarely requires surgery. The commonest term that we know of is the slip disc. What exactly it is? So to start with, the intervertebral discs serve as shock absorbers as well as hinges. As I said previously, that the mobile unit of the spine is the two vertebral bodies with their facet joints and the intervening intervertebral discs. So the disc, the structure is, it's like a tire and tube of a two-wheeler. The outer part is a tough annulus fibrosus, and the inner part, which is the tube that we know of, it's a jelly-like material. So what exactly happens when a slip disc occurs? So the outer tough material, the annulus fibrosus, tears off and the jelly-like substance comes out. This can rupture and slip out of place, and then because the nerve roots and the spinal cord are too close to each other, the jelly-like material that has come out, it starts pressing on the nerve roots and the spinal cord. This causes pain shooting down along the distribution of the specific nerve that is getting pinched or compressed, the term commonly known as sciatica. Slip disc can be acute or chronic, and it can cause back pain and leg pain. The leg pain symptoms because of the slip disc is known as sciatica. The damaged unhealthy disc. So the disc prolapse, it goes through it has 3 to 4 types. First is a disc protrusion wherein there's just a bulge of the disc. We might have seen MRI radiologists reporting MRI saying that disc protrusion at this level, this level, this level. Then comes the disc extrusion, wherein the annulus fibrosus tears, the nucleus pulposus comes out, but still the prolapsed part of the nucleus pulposus is in contact with the parent disc. And the last comes the sequestration, wherein the prolapsed part is completely cut off from the parent disc. What's the treatment? Traditionally, there have been treatments wherein the patient was made to lie down for 2 weeks, 3 weeks in bed. But these days, bed rest for a max of 2 to 3 days is the norm. And anti-inflammatory agents. How does this help? It offloads the spine. Whenever you lie supine or prone, it offloads the spine. It reduces the intradiscal pressure. Also, it reduces the inflammatory response of the nerve root. So what does a spine surgeon do then? Then comes the main, once the patient is pain-free, Exercises, physiotherapy, and rehabilitation is the main part. The role is in prevention rather than treatment. Prevention of what? Prevention of a similar attack in the future. It is started after pain relief and not for pain relief. So you must have seen these pictures usually given by a physiotherapist, wherein different kinds of exercises are prescribed for the patients. So this is what it is. On a long-term basis, what is the treatment for a slip disc? Activity modification, posture modification, weight control, and exercise. Posture modification is a very important part. We have people working in the IT sector sitting for long hours in front of a PC or a laptop, and the posture, after some time, you yourself, if you're sitting for a long time, you tend to slouch. This is what causes the pain in the back. Weight control. India is now going towards being the capital of obesity in the world, next to US. And exercise. Our previous generations were quite active in their exercise, but these days we are not. And surgery, it is only for the 10% of the people with slip disc. Important is, results are excellent if a correct patient is selected. Spondylogenic back pain, or the pain that generates from the joints of the spine. The most common term that we hear of is degenerative lumbar spondylosis. It is similar to what we have when our hair turns gray first, then white. It is same thing, but in the spine. So it's a 3-joint complex, the facet joints, the intervertebral discs. So in the facet joints, there's synovial reaction to start with, then it leads to cartilage destruction, osteophyte formation, capsular laxity, subluxation, and enlargement of the articular processes and laminate. While in the intervertebral disc, there are circumferential tears, radial tears, which lead to internal disruption, loss of disc height, disc resorption, and osteophytes at the vertebral body. End result, it's a multi-level spondylosis and stenosis. Lumbar canal stenosis. Patients with lumbar canal stenosis present with back pain and lower limb claudication. What is claudication? It is patient complaints of pain, tightness or heaviness in the legs whenever the patient walks. The patient has pain relief when he sits or lies down. Bicycle test is a very good test to differentiate it from vascular claudication. What is vascular claudication? Vascular claudication is a similar kind of tightness in the legs when there's decreased blood supply to the muscles of the legs. In such cases, the patients have relief whenever they stop the activity. Whenever the muscles relax, the blood supply to the muscles increases and the pain goes off. So how does a bicycle test differentiate? So bicycle, whenever you ride a bicycle, you tend to flex your back. Flexion of the back increases the space in between the intervertebral foramina so that the nerve roots have more space to breathe. This in case because there's reduction in the compression, the patient has pain relief. But in case of a vascular claudication, while you are cycling, your muscles are still at work. So this is the reason why a patient with vascular claudication does not have pain relief while on a bicycle, while that of a patient with lumbar canal stenosis has pain relief. Surgery is usually indicated in lumbar canal stenosis. Good to excellent results of surgery are seen in more than 75% of patients. With age comes wisdom and also spondylosis. So lumbar spondylosis is the commonest and usually the often overrated cause of backache in older adults. In addition to osteoporosis and poor musculature, it can cause debilitating back problems in the elderly. Lumbar spondylosis, the aging spine. What exactly is it? As I said, it's degenerative arthritis of the facet joints. It's a wear and tear condition and not a disease. The symptoms are variable. Generally, they are not disabling. And if disabling, you have to look for other causes. Inflammatory spondylitis with crippling low back pain. There are different causes, though rare, but yes, we need to be aware of these as well. Ankylosing spondylitis. Young, fairly fit-looking patient in the 3rd or 4th decade of life coming with back pain, restricted mobility, difficulty in bending. Ankylosing spondylitis, usually males. Rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, and spine and SI joint or the sacroiliac joint affections. These are essentially medical management, except for very severe deformities, which may require surgery in future. Back pain in children is a very different topic. We usually tend to treat children as if they are small adults, but they are not. It's totally different. It's an uncommon situation. You usually or rarely see a young kid of around 10, 12 years coming to you with back pain. These days, it's usually the adults in their 40s, 50s, or elderly patients. Hence, children with back pain have to be taken seriously, examined closely, and diagnosed accurately. The 7 warning signs. If a child is less than 4 years old, back pain which is causing a functional disability, duration of more than 4 weeks, associated fever, postural shift of the trunk, limitation of motion, and presence of a neurologic abnormality. What are the differential diagnoses of back pain in children? There's a long list. Up to 85% of children complaining of back pain have a specific pathology. So a mnemonic that we have created is vitamin C, vascular, infection and inflammation, trauma, autoimmune diseases, metabolic diseases, idiopathic, neoplasm, and congenital. So as I said, there's a long list. Vascular consists of sickle cell crisis, infection, as we all know, tuberculosis, pyogenic discitis, ankylosing spondylitis, infantile rheumatoid arthritis is not to be missed, trauma, spondylolysis, listhesis, herniated disc, autoimmune diseases, metabolic diseases, idiopathic like Scheuermann disease, neoplasms or tumors like osteoblastoma, osteoblastoma, aneurysmal bone cyst, histiocytosis X, leukemia, lymphoma, osteosarcoma, Ewing's, a long list goes on, and congenital tethered cord. So take home message is do not ignore a child with back pain. It could be a most interesting case. Back pain in everyday life. As I said, we have n number of people coming to us saying back pain, fairly young, fit looking patients, but they are still crippled with back pain, not able to do their regular course. Commonest back pains are non-specific back pain, idiopathic low back ache, lumbago, back sprain, and a back catch. What exactly is a back sprain or an acute lumbago? It's a sudden onset catch or spasm in the back, usually in the lumbar or the thoracolumbar region. All movements are painful, often even deep breathing is painful. Pain reduces in specific positions. Discomfort often presents even on lying down. Commonly seen in tall young adults, there's no associated leg pain there. So what is the first aid treatment? Rest in a position of comfort. Local warm fomentation helps. How does it help? It relaxes the muscles. Do not attempt any sudden or jerky movements. Do not massage. This is very important. Local ointments, if used, should be gently applied rather than rubbing those. Sleeping on the side with a pillow in between the legs helps. Pain reliever tablets or muscle relaxant will not only reduce the pain, but also work towards reducing inflammation in the back. Postural back pain, the most commonly encountered cause of back pain. Kids sitting on the couch for long hours looking at the television set in an awkward position. Young adults working on their laptops in their offices with a very poor posture. This is due to poor day-to-day postural habits. So, as you can see in the picture here, a slouched posture is head is forward, upper back is round, lower back is arched. While a military posture, which is a normal posture that a young patient or even a fit elderly patient should have, is a military posture. Head pulled back slightly, shoulder blades slightly winged, lower back is arched, and knees are locked. Flabby back syndrome. As you can see, this gentleman with a pot belly, a poor muscular tone in the back, hip, and the abdominal muscles. More often than not, we see patients who are of similar kind of stature come to us with back pain going on for quite a long time. Chronic low back pain. Pain typically increases on sitting for a long time. Pain also increases with strenuous activity, especially involving forward bending, lifting objects, and even road traveling. Pain limited to low back. Pain does not worsen on coughing or sneezing, as is the case in a prolapsed intervertebral disc or a slip disc. Pain does not radiate down the leg. What is the treatment for postural back pain? Strengthening of the musculature of the back. The physiotherapists have a very important role in this. Maintaining a good abdominal tone and maintaining good posture habits. As you can see in the picture below, good posture from the front and the back view, as well as a good sitting posture. Pregnancy is oftenly associated with back pain. What is the cause? First is the increased weight during the pregnancy. Because of the hormones going on in the pregnant female, there's relaxation of the abdominal and back muscle, leading to very poor abdominal tone. Vitamin D deficiency is a very important cause. And of course, infant care, wherein the mother tends to care for the infant in a very awkward position. So how can it be avoided? Excessive weight gain is to be checked. And post-pregnancy, one should return to pre-pregnancy weight in around 6 weeks. Antepartum and postnatal exercises are very important. These help to improve the abdominal and back muscles. And calcium vitamin supplements, which are usually given, but they need to be checked whether they are given in the adequate dosage or not. First and foremost, back pain should not deter you from having a normal pregnancy or a normal delivery. There is no correlation between back pain and patient undergoing a normal delivery. You need not post the patient for section just for the cause of back pain. The weekend back. These days we have young chaps who are busy from Monday to Friday, and all of a sudden on Saturday, Sundays, having weekends off, they say that now, yes, this is the day when I'll be doing some strenuous activity like a hike or a trek, or I'll play cricket for the entire day. It's a sudden, unaccustomed, high output physical activity like a weekend trek. Suddenly on Sunday evening, the patient has severe muscle stiffness, soreness in the next 2 days. There's high chance of injury during the convalescence. Important is pre-activity warm-up, and if at all required, anti-inflammatory tablets. The housewife's back. It's a chronic work-related low backache. It happens due to household work, low-level activity, improper posture, improper lifting, and poor posture habits. It is also associated with poor muscle training. Treatment is difficult and long. Important is posture education and rehabilitation. The executive back. The IT guys, young, middle-aged, adult, white-collar, office or desk job, suddenly wakes up with a stiff, loosens up as the morning progresses. The patient is sedentary at work. Boring back pain builds up as the day progresses. So what's the cause? Poor prolonged sitting posture, lack of regular exercises, gradually increasing body weight, calcium and vitamin D deficiency, and inadequate rest. Patient wants to exercise, but there's no time. He's too busy. What is the formula for a healthy back? First and foremost is habits, then the lifestyle, then comes the exercises. What are the habits? It's a good posture. As I said, we have people in the IT sector sitting in front of a screen for quite a long time. In the previous year that we had, majority of us were sitting in the home in front of a screen. But how do you sit? This is more important. Then lifting. How do you lift? Whenever you're lifting anything from the ground, you bend from your knees, not directly from your back. Bend your knees, and this will greatly reduce stress to your lower back. Keep the load close to your body and carry heavy weights waist high. As seen in the lowermost picture here, bend at the knees and the hips, not the waist. Household work. Simple daily chores like ironing your clothes. You tend to stand in front of a table ironing your clothes. At the end of around, say, 5 or 6 clothes, your back is gone. How do you prevent that? Keep a small footrest. That will help to flex your hip and your knees. That will reduce stress on your lower back. Then caring for kids. You have to bend from your knees and your waist, and your hips, not your waist. Sit down with one of your knees resting on the ground, then pick up your kid. Don't directly. And of course, this is for the females. Avoid using high heels whenever at work, wherein you think that your back might be at stress. Even sleeping, pretend one person sleeps around 1/3 of its life. So how do you sleep is important to your back as well. Try to sleep in positions that keep your back straight. The ones shown in the pictures are good. Also, getting up from a lying down position. Important is you should first turn on your side, then put your legs down, then get up straight. Instead of directly getting up from a bed as if you're performing abdominal crunches. That is wrong. It puts a lot of stress on your back. Driving. These days, with the amount of vehicles on the road, driving has become too hectic. You have to be in your car or on your two-wheeler for quite a long time. So select a driving position with your knees slightly bent and your back arched. Stop frequently and get out and walk, which is not possible in our situation. If you stop, someone from back will hit you. Correct way to sit while driving is you should be close to the pedals, use the seat belt or hard backrest. These hard backrests are usually available in the market. Is there a role of bed rest in back pain? It's only in discogenic back pain, that too, as I said previously, for max 2 to 3 days. How does a belt? You see lot of medical equipment shops selling different kinds of different colors of different types of back and abdominal belts. It affords external support to the abdomen, but not to the back. It offloads the back indirectly by raising intra-abdominal pressure. But as I said, it does not help the back in any way. Back exercises is the main key. So there are different types: stretches and range of motion exercises, then comes strengthening. Important is to start gradually and graduate. Also, the most important thing is to be regular. These are general back exercises to start with: flexion of the hips, flexion of the knee, lifting of your legs in a straight manner, the straight leg raising test. Back exercises, mobilization exercises. It's a gentle exercise in good way to start. Lie flat on the floor with the knees flexed. Rotate the pelvis to gently push the small of your back towards the floor. Release and repeat. This helps in increasing the abdominal tone. On the other side is the normal Bhujangasana that we know in yogas. Lie prone on the floor and slowly raise your head and repeat. With movement, place your forearms on the floor and raise your upper body on your elbows. Repeat the same. So these are the other exercises. The half crunch. The leg lifts by lying prone and your back lifts. Incorporate some form of exercise in your daily routine. It's a very important thing. Brisk walking, half an hour per day. Adequate sunlight exposure. Why is sunlight important? Because it's the only source of natural vitamin D that we get. Your body can form vitamin D only if the ultraviolet rays of the sun reach your skin. Swimming and yoga are very good. In case of back trouble, avoid high impact exercises like jogging and skipping. Lifestyle. Important is adequate sleep. For adequate sleep, you need to cut down on your screen exposure time. Relaxation techniques, meditation, breathing exercises, yoga, and of course, weight control. So the carry home message, last things first. Low back pain is a symptom. It's not a disease, and hence its treatment will depend on its cause. Short duration back pain need not be extensively investigated. Chronic disabling back pain should be fully investigated and evaluated by an expert to rule out red flags and underlying serious pathology. After the serious cases are excluded, majority of back pains can be effectively managed with reassurance and simple techniques. Never blindly block back pain without confirming the exact cause of backache. Prevention is the key in majority of cases, hence identifying those at risk is important. Beware of the knife. Always seek a second opinion when advised surgery. Back your back. Its future lies in your hands. Thank you. Any questions?